I guess we could make a start. Hello, everyone, and welcome uh, to another .NET Morning Coffee episode. So, um, summer's almost ended, but we still have some interesting things for you, for those folks who are not on vacation and who joined us. I hope you will enjoy the content that we will share today. And yeah, I think we will start from probably the most interesting one. It's .NET 9 Preview 7, which is now available. So the release of .NET 9 is coming, and Microsoft producing the new versions of the .NET 9 Preview almost every couple of weeks, and each this increment has a nice features that we can explore and be ready to the upcoming .NET 9 release. So yeah, here is like a short summary of what was changed in .NET 9, what was added. Um, as usual, Microsoft decomposed it into several areas like library changes, runtime changes, language changes, and so on. So I think we can skip libraries. What is in runtime? Yeah, well,
Let's not skip libraries because at
okay,
least
it's
2 points are important. First
right.
one is removal of binary formatter, which is
Oh
first in
yeah,
this
I
list.
also noticed that. Yeah, I agree. That's a interesting change. So I think today nowadays nobody uses it really, and probably vast majority of the audience even wasn't aware about such way of serializing the objects. Yeah, just a short history. Binary formatter was one of the first binary serializers built into .NET, probably the first one, yeah. And what was interesting, so it was quite powerful. It was able to deserialize even like with reference consistencies. That was like a really interesting thing. Um,
It
Now
was
it's
too
removed.
powerful, so it was considered as
It
a
was extremely
just a
powerful.
single source of security issues, and they
Yeah.
decided to obsolete, disable it, and they had long-standing plan to remove it completely from runtime and from libraries to avoid such issues. And in this release, they're going to get rid of it. But they provide escape hatch. They provide ability to use different, like separate library, which you can include, and it will give you some small
Mhm.
subset of functionality which they consider as a
Not
safe.
not not as much powerful, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what
And
should we
second
use
point
then
is
for binary serialization? Prota buff or what?
I don't use binary serialization. I don't need it on my current project, so
Okay. So if we have people who use binary serialization, please share your approach of doing that in the chat. It's really interesting to see. Okay, so what else you wanted to discuss here in libraries section that I wanted to
GUID create
mention?
version 7. It's in
This
the
one, right?
middle, seems like as not important,
Let's
but
open.
it's a very interesting point because in this release they added new way how you can construct GUID or UUID type with version 7. Why version 7 is different is because it provides you with sequential creation of values based on time. And why it's important is because out of the box, version 7 provides you with performance benefits when it's used with some relational database like
Mhm.
Postgres, for
So
example.
it's when you use you decided to use GUID as a primary key, yeah, for
Yeah,
example.
as a primary key, and
So
by
it will just
default, GUID
add
is
at the end of the
yeah,
table, right?
yeah. By
While if you
default,
use a
it's
regular,
random. Yeah, so
Mhm,
it just trashes your index tree, and
mhm. Does it mean that we should always use create version 7
not
starting
always
from .NET
you
9?
you should carefully choose what you need and when you need, because if like interesting point is that currently by default Postgres at the net driver allows you to use this GUID as is, and it will just work out of the box.
Mhm,
But if you decide to use it with Microsoft at the net driver, it will make your performance even worse than
mhm,
you have
mhm,
right now, because by default, Microsoft .NET Driver shuffles bytes in GUID value
mhm,
in some particular order, and this order kind of get rid of all optimizations from SQL Server by default. So you have to implement custom converter on top of it, and you need to be aware of this and implement it and use and then measure it.
Okay.
What is the benefit is that with version 7 you can have almost linear insert rate, which might be important for you.
So it seems like Postgres is your primary database in the project, right? So you're aware of all these pitfalls.
Not primary, unfortunately, but let's see where it comes.
Right, yeah, there are some other library changes, like you can see here, interlocked compare exchange for more types, which was quite limited. Now they added a few more thanks to the contributions from this guy and like many others. So if you're really interested in checking what was added from the library's perspective, you can explore. Yeah, so
runtime. In runtime, I think object stack allocation for boxes is an interesting point because it's kind of, I'm not sure is it start or is it progression of journey towards object stack allocation when compiler sees that some particular objects are allocated in a method but doesn't escape this method. So it means that there is no reason to allocate it on the heap and incur all cost of allocating it and cleaning it up. So in some particular basic cases right now, they're able to identify such pattern and replace generated code of
like here, so no real need to allocate these 3 and 4 values on heap because it would cause extra work for garbage collector, right? Without having real benefits. Interesting.
I suppose it's just a start of journey because in a linked issue, if you scroll down, they mention that they plan to expand this optimization not just for boxed values, but for arrays of non-GC types, for strings, and for arrays of GC types, and they see that value doesn't escape, which is very powerful optimization, which is heavily used in Java hotspot VM actually, because they have value types. They don't have value types, but they want to allocate on stack instead of heap.
Small comment here regarding the allocation of value types. In 99% cases, when I asked about like value reference types during the interview, people usually answer that value types are allocated on stack, which is not always true, right? And here is a clear example when it will not be allocated on stack. Right, so what else is interesting here? This one, right?
This one, datas, so-called dynamic adaptation to application size. It's in this preview, they enabled by default new mode of garbage collector, which represents kind of.
So that means you can enable it right now, even with .NET 9,
yes,
right?
You can enable it in .NET 8. But in .NET 9, they made a bunch of improvements to it. One of improvements was related to optimization of resource usage, because what it does is it adapts to allocation patterns and performance of your application, and it can increase or decrease number of heaps in your application. And in server mode, for each heap, you have one garbage collector thread associated to this heap. And in .NET 8, they have kind of not a bug, but a limitation that in case if your application increased number of heaps and increased number of threads, but then this new mode sees that there are no reason to have so many heaps, it decreases number of heaps, but doesn't decrease number of threads associated to it.
So what should we expect at the end? So will our application
we can expect decreased working set, like decreased memory consumption at the cost of few % of decreased throughput of your application. Maybe for your application it will be not just a few %.
Yeah, so if you need this 2-3%, and this is crucial for you to meet some kind of non-functional requirements, right? So then probably you may decide to sacrifice this 80% of the memory consumption. Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
with this garbage
Yeah,
collecting mode,
this will
they
be really nice for lambdas. Yeah, for example, when
yeah,
the only way to control the resources, it's memory allocation, and if you allocate more memory, then you will pay more. And now with datas enabled, you will pay less, but have approximately the same performance, which is very cool, right?
it's not
Lambdas
just about
functions,
Lambda,
Azure
but
functions.
about applications which see spike of load and then they are in idle mode. And for such
Hmm.
scenarios, currently with server garbage collector mode, it's not possible to just without forcing it manually to collect this memory and reduce working set.
Yeah, so am I right that I can enable it just by this environment variable in
Yeah, you can
.NET
enable
8?
and disable it, but in .NET 9
Set it
it's
to 1
enabled by
and
default,
just
so you can
uh-huh.
disable it if you want.
Or or system GC dynamic adaptation mode to 1 in runtime config. Yeah, so there are multiple ways of doing
Yeah.
that. Cool. Very nice feature. Okay, so C
For C
sharp.
Sharp, there is only one feature, but I think it's very interesting and
It's cool.
important
Yeah.
for runtime by itself because they like probably library team wants to force some overloads to take higher priority, like for span based or read-only span or
Hmm.
memory based overloads instead of arrays, collections, lists, and so on, which
Hmm.
can provide reduced allocations and improved performance. And by default, like language doesn't allow this because of the way how it's was built for years. So they have a kind
Yeah.
of one another escaped hatch
Yeah, this is a
to
hint
do so.
actually for a compiler, for a IDE, right? To prefer a particular methods over another methods that were preferred because of the rules, because of them, they were more suitable based on their signatures. So now we can just mark particular methods with this overload resolution priority and make particular methods that were not the preferred methods before
Yeah,
to
one
enforce compiler to select them.
interesting use case is to enforce users of your library to migrate away from obsolete attributes because some persons and some projects and teams doesn't
Yeah,
care about obsolescence warnings. They
yeah,
just
just disable
it
warnings. Yeah,
works. Why
yeah,
should I
compiled.
care? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Um, by the way, like full notes are here. So everything that okay, that's not full notes. There will be at the end. Okay. Right. What else? SDK. Any
Nothing
comments here,
interesting for
Volodya?
me.
Okay. Yeah. ASP.NET Core. Yeah, there are a bunch of interesting changes here, right? Mostly related to the compatibility with native IoT and trimming.
Yeah, in general, ASP.NET Core as a framework is very, very stable and mature. So I
Yeah.
like for last few releases, I don't see major changes in it just because there are a lot of functionality and a lot of projects that depends
Yeah.
on existing functionality.
Yes,
So just keep
I agree. So
extending
it's
some
it's too
small
much
parts.
functionality to me, right? So you can build a lot of nice things just using ASP.NET Core and things that they are changing. It's like underlying changes, and you are getting them for free. So, for example, if you decided eventually to make a native IoT compilation for your SignalR applications, you will be able to do that starting from .NET 9. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
second
just
point,
cool.
I suppose that it's related to the effort to migrate away from swashbuckle
Yeah.
ASP.NET Core package in .NET 9 to homegrown kind of solution, and they depend on OpenAPI, new OpenAPI library to create OpenAPI definitions, and they want it to be usable from minimal IP with native IoT, so they enabled and they kind of annotated this library and
Hmm.
enabled streaming and native IoT.
Hmm. But there will be no Swagger UI built in into
Yes,
our
by default.
applications anymore. That's unpleasant.
That's not great user
Yeah.
experience.
But there is a HTTP files, right, supported by Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code that allow you to like write your HTTP requests and test your applications just by running particular like few lines of code. Syntax is very close to curl syntax, right? That's an alternative, and I think all that you need is just to turn on a particular like it's built in Visual Studio,
Is
so it's
is
for
it auto
free.
generated? Is it auto
Um,
extended once you add new endpoints?
I need to check. I didn't use
No,
it
it should
intensively.
be manually.
Should
No,
be
Oh,
definitely
okay.
okay.
no.
That's not then. Yeah, okay.
But you
But it
still can
discovers.
generate
It's at least discovers, right? It discovers all your endpoints. It shows all the
yeah,
endpoints available.
yes,
So
it is.
just
But you're
.http
still able to
files.
generate OpenAPI document. You just need to select new library to build the Swagger-like UI.
Swashbuckle. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
choice. Okay. Yes, there is like a full release. That's not for related for just only Preview 7. It's for all .NET 9 capabilities you can explore. It's on the bottom of the article, so you can see what will be added. Maui skipping, right? We are not going to talk about Maui intensively. We are not Maui experts.
I would like to mention one thing here. It is hybrid web view. It is
Hybrid.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, why it is
Is
interesting?
it
It is
for Blazor? No.
for
Or
both. I mean, it should be available for all platform for all platforms.
okay.
Maui,
So
Blazor,
we
all
need
the
we
stuff.
need Maui just only for loading hybrid web view, and then all the
Yes.
application will. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we can
the
communicate
best usage
directly
of
from.
Blazor. Oh, there is a dedicated Blazor web view, right? So it's
Mhm.
okay.
And actually, there are a few frameworks which is using the almost the same approach. I know for Go it is Wales or WALS. I don't know how to read it correctly. And for Rust, it is Tauri App or Tauri UI, something like this. They're using the same approach. The backend is built in the kind of native language, C Sharp, Go, and
Mhm.
Rust, but UI is built in any JavaScript framework, and they're
Mhm.
communicating. So the same approach you can see here. So now we can build almost the same apps. The main benefit of them it is flexibility because you know JavaScript frameworks kind of flexible according UI building. I mean, and
Well,
the next point is um, size. The size of the app. Usually
yeah.
they're pretty compact.
Yeah. Because it's comparing to Electron that has
Yes.
like a full
Yes.
copy of WebView and Node that's much smaller. It uses native capabilities of the operation system, right?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. I know we will have an interesting article about that. Let's move on and then talk about it in details. Visual Studio 2022 release notes. So new version of new upgrade to Visual Studio. Not too many things here, and like we can see that Microsoft is really concentrated on compatibilities with GitHub Copilot. So you will be able, if you have a Copilot enabled, you have a license, then now you can reference particular methods, particular symbols when you are asking for hints from Copilot. Um, this one seems like a kind of interesting. Yeah, so for each method, even if you don't have any comments, you can ask AI to explain what is going on in this method. So GitHub Copilot is, as you can see, it analyzes the code and explains, it tries to explain what's going on inside. So really a lot of efforts to make GitHub Copilot top level tool for Visual Studio. Very interesting. And
I like
preview, yeah, yeah.
I like too much how renaming is working with Copilot. I'm not using Copilot, but from time to time
Mm,
enable it to check out. But the name suggestion from Copilot is really good. From time
mm,
to time, you can stuck with name or renaming,
yeah, yeah,
and it is
that's true.
showing a lot of variants that it actually makes sense. So it is works cool.
Yeah. So the preview version was also introduced and released by Microsoft. So if you wanted to try .NET 9, so probably the easiest way just to install preview version of Visual Studio. And here is the announcement for .NET, achieving more with .NET 9, so it supports .NET 9 out of the box. There are also some NuGet changes, so you will see some security issues in your error list in case if there are any for your dependencies.
One important note related to
Okay.
.NET 9 preview is releases at its latest preview release, because next one will be release candidate 1. It will be stable release which can be theoretically used in production, and it will not contain a lot of feature additions. It will just contain a lot of bug fixes and stability fixes.
But .NET 9 will be a short-term release, so you need to like be careful when you decide to stick to it and build something on top. Cool. Few more Visual Studio news, Visual Studio updates, things. This one I really like. This article is short, but for some it might be something, maybe the tip of the day, right? So the the header is like using Control L to delete a line without a clipboard pickup. Yeah. So I usually delete it with a Shift Del, I think, or something like that. So there is another way. It's Control L, and when you do the Control L, then the deleted line is automatically copied to the clipboard, right? So it's a very nice.
I do not
Uh,
understand what is the difference between Control X. It is super standard keyboard shortcut
Control
to
X. It's the
Control
same way.
X.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it
Never used
works in
Control
any
X.
editor.
Okay, and there is another way to delete a line without, if you don't need it to be copied to the clipboard, you can use Control Shift L. And another hint, so there is a built-in clipboard history panel in Windows. So everything that you copied, for example, now. So by the way, I realized that when you are in incognito mode, everything that you are copying here will not be appeared in this clipboard history, but now I'm going to copy the protobuf link that Andrei has shared, and if I press Windows W, I can see here that there is a history of clipboards, which might be very, very useful, so I can select some things that I wanted to um, paste again somewhere, so I can delete, I can paste it as a text whenever I need it to do. There are also some symbols available, might be useful if you wanted to insert some GIF, some emoji, and yeah, this history thing. So you can always clean it and use Windows D. But you need to enable it. Clipboard history needs to be enabled. Very nice hints. So did you use that, guys? Did you use? Am I the only who didn't?
Clipboard, I used it
Clipboard
a
history.
lot.
Clipboard
Yeah,
clipboard
I use it a
history.
lot.
This panel that I'm showing.
Yeah, very
Used.
convenient stuff.
Okay. Okay. So seems like I'm the only who didn't use. Right. Very very nice thing. So maybe someone like me just got this very nice hint of working with clipboards. Right, and another one, it's a small Visual Studio extension from Mats Christensen. Mats is a famous guy because of his tons of Visual Studio updates. I think he's full-time Microsoft employee, and his work is to build these extensions for Visual Studio, right? I think that's what he is doing full-time, and this is what he built. Um, Small but very nice thing to show the image that you are trying to um, display in your CSS or HTML. Yeah, small but cool thing, cool addition to Visual Studio. Okay, so Volodya, your favorite one. .NET focus on AI, .NET Conf focus on AI. So on August 20th, there was a online event conducted by Microsoft, and they focused on the ways how .NET can be integrated, how .NET can be used in order to build AI applications, integrations with different AI models. There is a quite long agenda, a lot of speakers, some from Microsoft, some from community. So there are like sessions, very beginner level sessions. For example, how to get started incorporating AI into your .NET application. But the speaker is really cool, Stephen Tope. I know you like him, Vladimir. I know he's your favorite Microsoft employee.
Everyone likes Steven.
Yeah.
And his
So
podcast.
I hasn't watched yet, but I'm going to, because his sessions are always like very technical, very focused, very interesting. Semantic kernel, how to integrate AI into Blazor, smart controls probably will be the topic. What else? Like OpenAI SDK. So Reg, this is what we've already talked about previously. Um, Unfortunately, Artur is not with us today. He's on vacation, but yes, so he talked about Reg. So if you wanted to see another opinion on Reg, so you can watch our recordings, or you can watch Microsoft session. Probably that's, I'm not sure if he's from Microsoft or it's a community speech. Yeah. Anyway, some community stories. Definitely, if you are interested in AI and maybe you don't know how to start, what tools should you use, so you can find some answers on in this agenda and watch the recording. So it's all available on YouTube. Another conference. This is .NET Conf 2024. It will be in November from 12 to 14. So 4 days, even 4 days of .NET of .NET topics, of .NET sessions. So why I'm sharing? Because I'm going to encourage you to submit a session. So if you have an interesting content and you wanted to share that with the community, um, Microsoft is waiting your submission, so you can do that. It's really straightforward, and you'll have an opportunity to present your topic to a very wide audience. That's a cool opportunity. All right.
By the
Let's
way,
move. Yeah.
about Stefan Taub, I just
Mhm.
checked, and .NET 8 performance improvements blog post was published September 13 last year, so we are
Mhm.
about 3 weeks away from
Okay.
.NET 9 performance improvements. So I suppose by the
100,
next
100
.NET
pages
Morning
of
Coffee
readings.
session, we will
Right.
have this article on our hands.
Dedicated session to the performance optimizations
Oh yeah.
in .NET 9. Okay. .NET Aspire, yes, this is the product that Microsoft is trying to make popular and encourage to use it on the projects. And this article is dedicated to the situations when you have just an application and shouldn't be like a really large application. It could contain just several APIs, like one UI, or just several projects that you run time to time all together simultaneously. And there is a like a clear guidance how to enable some of the Aspire features. Actually, for I wasn't aware about some of them, even about, for example, this one is service defaults. So you probably, so did you know about these service defaults, Volodya?
It's created automatically when you create a Spire project, but I didn't pay
You,
so much
you
attention
didn't
to
pay
it yet.
attention. Yeah, actually, there is a special type of project which is called service defaults. So, for example, let's say you have a solution with several projects, so you can add a service defaults project, Aspire service default project. It is like highlighted here, .NET Aspire service defaults. And what you will get, so you will get a project with extension method added the service defaults, and in this method there will be all necessary configuration in place, responsible for configuring telemetry, login, monitoring, observability, health checks, resiliency, and then you can just reference that project from your APIs, let's say, or UI projects, and then in your startup, in your program CS, you can just add a single line builder added the service defaults, and that's it. So you will automatically get all the default reasonably default configurations of your service, observability, health, and other things, and resiliency. So it could be just you can what so I'm not encouraging you to add this project right now, like to all your to all your solutions, but what you can do, you can just create a such type of project and explore what's inside and just get some ideas. Actually, that's what I did today. I can just really quickly show. So this is how this service defaults method look like. So what it adds, it configures telemetry, health checks, service discovery. It adds standard resiliency. So you can just get some ideas from this file, and maybe something is missed. You can just add to your projects. So it's not really necessary to generate. You can just get some ideas. Okay, and then there is another guide how to add .NET Aspire for another type of .NET Aspire project just to launch. It's a .NET Aspire app host, so it will be able to launch your several projects even if they have some interdependencies on each other's. Again, very straightforward guide, and instead of using a Visual Studio feature that actually existed for many years. So in Visual Studio, you can just run multiple projects simultaneously. So now you will be able to do that with just running one .NET Aspire project that will orchestrate your executables, your projects, your containers. Yeah, really nice getting started guide about .NET Aspire. Okay. Let's move on. This one is really interesting article, and I know Alexander, you were really impressed by it.
Impressed. Yeah, so really interesting. So what is DevToys? Let's start from it. DevToys, it is originally it is a Windows only application. It is kind of host or some their application has internally some bunch of small utilities that can help you with your everyday development stuff.
Yeah,
like
I actually have it
you
opened,
don't need to Google.
right.
You don't
I'm
need to
sharing it
Google
right
to
now.
find.
For example, like base 64 encoding, like certificate
GWT
decoders.
token.
Yeah,
All the stuff.
cron parsers. That's quite
Right.
often.
And originally it was
parsers.
only Windows
Converters.
only. Right. Originally it was Windows only and kind of popular as developers of this tool said, and they decided to go and create the version 2 of it, and it should be cross-platform. So how to do this with .NET? They started to find possible variants, and so originally I was thinking, originally it was Windows only and created by UWP, and it had a really Windows native look and feel, Windows 10 or 11 look and feel. And they decided to go with this design and also support multiple platforms. What was interesting, they didn't change the Avalonia, and that was a surprise for me. And why? The main downside for them. So first of all, they are saying that kind of Avalonia not providing by default
The
a
style,
theme
yeah.
for style, but that's not a problem. Actually, Avalonia had a theme for fluent UI. Maybe
Yeah.
they will have to do some tweaks, but not a big problem, I think. My main concern that Avalonia doesn't support WebView, and why they need WebView? Because they're using as a text editor TextMate. It is a JavaScript library used, for example, in the Visual Studio Code as a main text editor. And they
Yeah, I
their
think it has a name like Monaco
Monaco
or
editor, yeah. Sorry,
Monaco
yeah, of
editor.
course, yes.
Yeah.
Monaco editor. There are alternative for C# called TextMate. It is kind of port of Monaco editor to C# or something like this. But unfortunately, it doesn't provide the same functionality, the same experience, and uh, so they don't want to like change the previous experience from previous version. That the main reason why they didn't go with Avalonia. Also, they tried WinUI with no success because it doesn't support some special styles that they want to implement, like transparency or so.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
they come up with a interesting solution. They are using Blazor Hybrid app. So basically, it's a special variant of Maui app called Blazor Hybrid, right?
Hmm.
And it is possible to build this app for any platform. It also can be, in any of them. And UI is built on, HTML, then the Blazor actually. So it is using the same stuff.
Yeah.
And they use the theme very similar to Windows 11. I even didn't notice that this application is written in the Blazor
Yeah.
because it looks like, native app. Uh,
It's right now opened on my window.
right.
So this is the second version. It's preview still, but it looks very similar to um, to native Windows application. All these interactions are very similar.
Does it
I,
use
I
Blazor server side or WASM?
That's
I
a
don't
good
know.
question.
They didn't
Yeah,
mention.
we can explore that by going to GitHub, right? But I think it may take some time to understand what do they use. But yeah, we can explore. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all
Okay.
packaged into the same application. I think
hmm
maybe even the server side Blazor will be faster. It like it requires really precise measurement, right? Because when it's all on the same machine in the same process and communication, the signal are communication that will be exist, right? It will be extremely fast, and maybe the latency will be even lower comparing to WASM execution. Not sure.
Maybe if you are not going to host your application in the web, it makes sense to go with a server
Yeah,
version.
yeah. So yeah, there is a nice conclusion here. They once again they summarized here why they decided to choose Blazor Hybrid because of their constraints. It doesn't really mean that in each and every case you should prefer Blazor Hybrid. If you are building, for example, mobile application which wasn't a focus for them, then you may consider choosing Maui or Uno platform, which they also considered. Um, so if you are building like what, yeah, what else? Yeah, so if you are building desktop application, cross-platform application, then you don't have such constraints like they had with the Monaco editor. You can consider Avalonia, for example, which is also very cool, nice project, actively supported, maintained. Um, but for them, Blazor worked just perfectly. And actually, yeah, I've already showed this second version of DevToys, which is cross-platform. And to prove that it is cross-platform, I just downloaded from their GitHub binaries and run this version of DevToys from Linux, from WSL2, which supports GUI applications right now. It's not fully functional. I think some of the dependencies are not installed in my distribution, but yeah, you can just see it's the same preview 5 version, and yes, something wrong with icons, but the look and feel is very like similar to I mean, the functionality is definitely similar. The look and feel quite very close to Linux UI applications. You can see the cursor is like Linuxy cursor. So it works. Actually, it's already cross-platform. It's not yet in the official repositories of the application for Ubuntu, but you still can download it from the GitHub from binaries from the release tab. Yeah, really nice article and all their justifications why they decided to use Blazor hybrid are here. All right. So just really quickly, few more things to share because they are very interesting. So two articles from Andrew Locke. So Andrew Locke is a famous author of the books about .NET. He has an active blog where he constantly posts some awesome things, awesome articles, and in this one he explored the capabilities of XUnit combinational package. Yeah. So what is it about? If you ever worked with XUnit projects, if you build tests, unit tests on top of it, then you are familiar with the inline data, class data, and member data attributes. This is the way how you can parameterize your test. For example, you have like two values that you are passing to a particular method for testing, and you wanted to check all the combinations. So instead of repeating the test, you can just inline mark the test with inline data and put all the values for your parameters of your test, or you can declare a special class member and return an array um, of these values that you are going to pass into your test, or you can even go further and create a dedicated class that generates data for your tests. That's cool, but what is the biggest disadvantage? It's like quite hard to maintain all these values, because if you eventually decided to add a third parameter, you will have to go and modify all these inline data attributes or modify your class data method, which is quite error, which could bring you to errors, troubleshooting, and so on. So it might take some time. So, and this is where XUnit combinational community package comes into the game. What it allows you to do, you can just instead of using this inline data and others attributes, you can just you can use combinational data attribute, and then you can specify for each of your parameter combinational values that will be used to generate and pass and run your tests. So as you can see, you are declaring these attributes close to your variables of your tests, which is much more convenient. So same you can do, for example, if you need to generate something complicated, you can like use combinatorial member data attribute and reference to a particular member to fetch the values for a particular parameter of your tests. Again, very convenient. So there are a lot of different things that you can do with this package to improve the readability of your tests. It's definitely worth to explore the limitations and all the capabilities, all the functionality that you can achieve with this package. For some reasons, it's not official, but I think it should be official XUnit package. Right, and the last one, because for project IDX, I think we don't have enough time. Again, from Andrew Locke, this is about creating source-only NuGet packages. So in this article, actually, Andrew explores the capabilities of NuGet to bring some source files to your project. So I wasn't aware, to be honest, that it's possible, but actually you can pack into your NuGet package some CS files. And once this NuGet package is installed to your project, then these CS files become a part of your source code and they will be compiled. And this is especially useful when you wanted to bring some polyfills or just agnostic portion of agnostic code that you can't just really compile, so it should be compilable, should be a part of the source code. So it's really possible to achieve. So you can bring CS files with NuGet. Right. Okay.
So your project will be very similar to Rust project, because in Rust, when you add any dependency, it adds source code of the dependency into your dependency tree, and you will have to compile the whole tree each time. Like some optimization, but idea is very similar.
So they are not shipping the binary
especially
side.
if you take a look into size of the target folder. You know, for pretty simple application, I don't know, it can be 200 megabytes. But if you add, for example, some framework like REST API Actix, for example, it will be more than 1 gigabyte.
Okay, so yeah, the conclusion is that yeah, we do have this capability, but we shouldn't use it too intensively, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I to be honest, I personally feel uncomfortable with shipping some code to my projects. That's something that I prefer not to do.
Seems like there are some valid use cases for this, like listed in article with polyfill libraries when they try to imitate what compiler do for you under the hood, like with adding of special attributes into your assembly and so on. Similar thing SharpLab side actually does from time to time when you try to see decompiled a kind of C# equivalent code of your C# code. You can see additional attributes and code being added by compiler for you.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think we should stop with that. So this one we will discuss next time. So I hope you all enjoyed what you saw today. So I think we can wrap up. Thanks everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.